This is the new BMW Z4. You've been talking about this for a long time. I've been talking about this for a long time. While Toyota have been out there making all this noise and drip feeding the Supra, BMW have been working on their version of a brand new roadster. The G29 BMW Z4 is based on BMW's cluster architecture, or CLAR. It's underneath the 3, the 5, the 7, the X3, the X5 and the X7. That means BMW can stuff it full of technology, and it's cheaper to spin it off existing bits and pieces to save money and make the business case stack up. Car companies don't make cars to impress us. They have to make money, and it's hard to make money on sports cars these days. The other thing it has in common with the X3 is that it was designed by Australian Calvin Luke. He fixed the second generation 1 Series too. You can get the Z4 in 3 specs, and I had a go in 2 of them.
Alright, you find me at the wheel of the Z4 30i. Obviously it's S-Drive because it's a rear-wheel drive car, and of course it's just started raining. Now, the good thing about that is I can just slow to 60, press the button, and it's going to close the roof for me. There we go, look at that. I mean, you can see from your YouTube timer that took no time at all, and it was almost dead silent, which is quite amazing. So, hooray for timing. Now, what are we driving? We're driving the 30i, so it's about 190 kilowatts, which is some horsepowers, which I'm going to put down there now that I've completely forgotten how much that is. And this is the middle of the current range. So you've got the 20i and you've got the M40i. Now I drove that M40i yesterday, so let's have a quick talk about that. Oh, that's epic. That is quite a car. Nobody really does an overpowered car like that in this size. Like, you know, really think about dropping a turbo 6-cylinder into an MX-5, and that's pretty much the feeling of that car. And I did it because it's been wet. I mean, the way to break a drought in rural Australia is to launch a convertible, and it has been tipping it down. So you really know you're alive when you're in a short wheelbase rear-wheel drive car when it's chucking down with rain. So the M40i has a colossal amount of power. It's that wonderful B58 straight 6 twin scroll turbo that BMW does so well. It's such a beautiful, smooth engine. And it's so fast. It's really, in a way, it's too fast. It's too much. But not too much in a way that, you know, the Focus RS, not the RS, the Focus ST was, where you're just fighting it the whole time. If you just drive like a normal human being, you will never ever find yourself worrying about it having too much power. But if you're really on it, it's a short wheelbase, it's a lot of power, things can go wrong if you turn off the traction control, which I didn't do because there just wasn't enough grip available to save myself if things went wrong. But that engine is, I mean, it's the same as it is in every other car. It's beautifully smooth. It is effortlessly powerful. The way that thing spins up and makes power is just, like, it's really something. Now, the 30i, it's the 2-litre twin scroll 4-cylinder, familiar from pretty much everything everywhere. You know, the engine in the X2 M35i is based on it, and right down to, you know, Mini Cooper S, that kind of thing. Not Cooper S, John Cooper Works. So, you know, you've got quite a lot of power, and the 20i is the same engine, just dialed back. This one has the M Sport diff. So here in Australia, we get M Sport. Just every Z4 has M Sport, and we get an option called M Sport Plus. So, or you can obviously tick boxes individually. So you can have the M Sport diff. So that's an electronic differential. It's not a mechanical limited slip diff. And in these conditions, you really get what's good about even an ELSD. It's quite something. It's, okay, can I just tell you, this This is the joy of Australia and how dumb governments think we are. There's rumble strips on the road back there to warn you about the railway crossing ahead, and there's also a sign to warn you about the rumble strips. I mean, really? Anyway, there are good reasons to live in this country, but if you like being told every single little thing that might happen to you, yeah, that's where you want to be. All right, sorry. So I'm turning around because I have, once again, got myself lost. So anyway, 30i. So it's got the M Sport diff, which comes as part of the M Sport Plus package. Now, that may be available in other countries, the M Sport Plus package. I'm not aware of it. I don't know. So check your local dealer. And I think the package is worth getting. I do. You get little nice things like these stitched, M stitched, what are they called? They're called seatbelts, the things that stop you from coming out of the car in a crash. You get all that. And little things like that, and the tyre pressure stuff. So if you are serious, and let's be honest, you're probably watching this because you're serious about cars, because you're not serious about me, and nor should you be. You know, you're going to want to know what your tyre pressures are doing, what your tyre temperatures are doing. These things are important when you're someone who likes to get on it. You know, the kind of person who likes to make sure that once the tyres are warmed up, they know whether to get out, get a little bit of pressure out of them, that kind of thing. Plus you get the diff. So the diff is really, of course, the diff standard on the M40i, as is right and proper, because without it, it would be quite something. It's really worth it. It's funny how BMW does that. Like, you know, the i3 is an expensive car, but for just a bit extra, percentage-wise, for just a bit extra, you can have the i3S, which makes an already terrific car absolutely brilliant. And the same is true of this. You add the diff, and it takes a great car and makes it brilliant to drive. Anyway, it's a weird thing. I think in a car like this, having that limited slip differential, even if it's an E-diff, is a very smart move, because it is a short wheelbase, so it is going to be, well, it is. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a lively car, and that is so cool. And it's not even an M car. It's just, that's what the Z4 is. Out of the box, it's lively, and I'm loving it. I really like this car. I love the way, in any of them, I love the way you're sitting down, nice and snug, down in the car. Like, you know, I am, in a way, it feels like Jaguar's F-Type, obviously much smaller, but I kind of feel like I'm down in the car. I'm feeling really connected into the car. I've got plenty of headroom. I'm not feeling like I'm brushing the headlining or anything. Yeah, I'm sitting right down. I'm not overly tall. I'm just under 6 foot. But yeah, I'm feeling really connected to the car. Elbows aren't fouling anything. Feet are out in front of me. It feels like a sports car. And that's just... It feels like the old Z4 didn't. The fabric roof, it just means the weight's down lower. You know, with the roof down, it's quite comfortable at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. It's quite comfortable as long as you've got the windows up. It's got the little wind net thing. It's really like it's what the old Z4 always should have been, obviously, but that was really skewed towards lifestyle, whereas this has brought it back to that sports car. It feels like a proper sports car. It's lively in the tail. Front end is terrific. One of the things that really surprised me yesterday when I drove, it feels like a proper sports car. It's got a lovely front end. One of the things that really surprised me yesterday was when I was driving it in the wet, how much front grip there is. And in a car like this, you know, one that's prone to kick sideways, you really want to feel that front end, and it feels really good, and it's really adjustable. Like, there are a few better feelings in a car than when it's really adjustable, where your right foot is making as many decisions as your hands on the wheels. You know, you can really play around with the throttle and it not be threatening. I mean, some cars are adjustable, but they're super threatening. Like, they might give you quite a scare. This doesn't scare you. Like, the suspension's really, really good. You don't, like, it's firm, obviously, and there's not a great deal of travel in the rear, so big bumps you'll feel them, and you're basically sitting just ahead of the rear axle. You're very close, and again, that's one of the reasons why I think it feels like the Jaguar F-Type in that respect. But it's obviously lighter feeling. The power to weight ratio feels a lot better. I think the steering on this is really well judged. I love the weight of the steering. So even when I pop it into sport, it doesn't weight up too much. And in the 30i, you get a little bit of exhaust blare. It's not super poppy. It's a bit of a shame, actually, that they haven't, the Z4 engineers haven't put the poppy bangy exhaust system that's in the X2 M35. I'm going to talk about that car a lot. There is a review coming up on the red line of that car. You know, it's got a real great deal of character, but of course the rest of the Z4 package has a ton of character. It's so, you know, in normal driving it's really comfortable. I'm out here on country roads that aren't great. There's a freeway over there, but BMW very kindly made sure our route wasn't on the freeway. It's not cramped in here. Some roadsters can be quite cramped. Again, the F-Type is a much bigger car. It's quite cramped. Still love it, but very cramped. It's beautifully made. I mean, this is really nice, and that's another thing about some roadsters that I've found over the years, that you kind of lose out in the interior. You don't get all the stuff, and car companies sort of strip it out as though having the roof down means you can't have all the nice things, unless of course you're right up in the really expensive end of things. But while I wouldn't call this car cheap, and in Australia it's really not cheap, this is a $100,000 car I'm driving, and it's the mid one. You get everything. You've got the big iDrive screen running OS System 7. If you've got a Samsung phone, you can get into the car with your phone. If you don't, there's a credit card style thing that comes that you can use. And I asked whether or not there will be other form factors like Jaguar's Activity Key or something like that, and never say never was the answer, so I guess that means they're looking into it. These guys have got to be cagey, because, if I know something, the whole world's going to know it. It's got all the stuff, and at the moment, you can only get the 8-speed ZF automatic. Now, as many of you who are watching this know, I'm a big fan of that transmission, and I don't think there's anyone who isn't, because it is just so good. And I'm glad it's the ZF 8-speed, because I wasn't a huge fan of BMW's twin clutch. Oh, a little bit of poppy there on the overrun. So the manual option is being investigated, is the official story. There is potential for a manual. Now, those are the official stories, right? I don't have an unofficial story, but what we know about car companies is that this stuff's usually pretty much bedded down at the point of go, no go on the program. Or, maybe a bit further in than that. So I would say that there are lots of BMW Z4s that are not known by the public that are running around with manual gearboxes. And, just things will happen. I'm pretty sure there'll be a manual. That's just my personal opinion. BMW has not confirmed that to me. There is no official line other than there is a potential. I think this would be a terrific manual. The M40i, oh, you'd be busy. You'd be really busy. Although, at the same time, you could probably just stick that thing in third and never get out of third. But yeah, this would be a great manual. But having said that, this 8-speed is just such a good transmission that shifts so fast and so positively, and really, it just works so well with both the 2-litre and the 3-litre. It works beautifully. And I've got to say, I wasn't convinced that this would be the sweet spot of the range, but I think it might be, the 30i. I think it might be the sweet spot of the range. It's got a really, because it's light over the front end, the 50-50 weight distribution, you really feel it in this car, partly because you're sitting so far back. But it really feels great, and it's got that really chunky feel to it without the weight of it feeling chunky, if that makes any sense. So you know when you turn it, it's going to happen. It doesn't feel like it's going to get away from you unless you want it to. You know, the M5's like that, isn't it? I said that in my M5 video, that, you know, if you want this to get away from you, it can. And this is the same. I mean, I'm obviously not pushing hard because it is quite damp, as you can probably tell. But yeah, I just love the way this car feels. It really does remind me very strongly, and I know I keep saying this, reminds me very strongly of the F-Type, and that really is one of my favourite cars. And the thing about the F-Type is that my wife agrees with me about that car. It's such a strong package, and I reckon she'd really like this too. So we'll find out about that later on when we get the car for a little bit longer. And really, on these wet roads, we don't have the time to tell you just how good it is. You know, we really need good, dry, fast running to tell you what it's like. But I can tell you the grip in the wet is really impressive. The suspension and the tyres really work well in the wet, because, you know, obviously you want it a bit softer in the wet, a bit more compliant, so that you don't get, slide around. And you want security in the wet. The only time you don't want security in the wet is when you're on a skid pan with nothing to hit. Obviously, as you can see, there's plenty to hit here. But, there's a bit of road noise. You'll live with it. I mean, every convertible has road noise. It's just the nature of the beast. It's what it is. But that road noise is really, it's all tyres. So if you can't stand road noise, it's not the car for you. But I'm able to talk to you without having to shout. And with the roof down, I still really wouldn't have to shout. I'd have to raise my voice a little bit, but not much. So you can. I carried on a very good conversation with a colleague yesterday in the car, roof down, 110 kilometres an hour, so almost 70 miles an hour. It was fine. It was fine. So yeah, I think the wait for this car has been worth it. BMW has absolutely nailed this. So yeah, I'm super impressed and super happy, because if BMW got this wrong, oh boy, the internet would just explode. And I'd have had to be like this on the video. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. You don't want something that's bad enough when I'm happy. So yeah, I reckon the 30i is the go, but if you do like super lively, the M40i is pretty good. However, here in Australia, the price difference between each model is $20,000. Yeah. I guess the real elephant in the room is, would you choose this over a Boxster? Well, here's a good question. Probably. It's cheaper to buy, it's cheaper to own, it's got a badge that's less likely to cause you trouble, it's probably going to be cheaper to insure. The base Boxster's already a 4-cylinder anyway, so who cares? this has got a proper transmission in it, rather than the, well, I say proper, twin clutches are proper transmissions, calm down. I think this looks better. That's purely subjective. I'd be curious to see what you guys think about the looks compared to the Boxster in the comments. I do think, wow, this road is covered in crap. Whoops. I do think, you know, it's going to be this, you know, simple living with the car facts, like there's more dealers. You know, all of those things really do stack up in the Z4's favour. Now the real difference is that the Z4 is front engine rear drive, whereas the old mate of Porsche is mid-engine. But this is so good.
A brand new sports car is always exciting, and you know, a new BMW car, that's even more exciting because it's a brand that's able to drop something really quite special, and the Z4, it's really, really special. It's light, it's fluid, you've got so much to play with, both its spec, you've got different engines, you've got all the different packages available to you, but at the core of it, it's a really good, fun sports car. This is a car I want to spend a lot more time with. This is the brand new BMW Z4. It's not like the old one. It's not old and creaky. It's brand new, it's up to date. It's got all new engines, all new stuff. And yes, it was co-developed with Toyota, but you can't tell. Nah, that's rubbish.